As anyone who even has a passing connection with the world of journalism will tell you, headlines can make or break a story. 30 years ago, headlines are the difference between you making a decision to buy the newspaper or let it sit on the newsstand. Or maybe it was the difference between you getting up and going on with your day versus sticking around for the next commercial break to be over. Today, it's the difference between clicking on that link in the newsfeed or watching that viral video, and or sticking around for after that next commercial break. Some things never change, but hey, big news has to pay for their massive C-suite bonuses somehow, right? The problem is, though, that headlines don't always accurately reflect the actual news story. The lead, as we call it, in the world of traditional print journalism. And while I'd like to think that the majority of people understand that there's more to a story than the headlines, many comments over the years and many Facebook posts later tell me that that's not the case. And we sometimes have to step in and give some much needed context. So when we heard a news story last week from Fox News entitled "How E-bikes are exploding and killing people," quickly followed in subsequent days by similar, although less breathless headlines from other news outlets, we knew it was time to act. So today, I'm going to look into the reporting of those fires, explain the reality of what's been going on, detail how we think the risk can be alleviated using better legislation and or regulation, and help you understand how you can safely use electric bicycle and micromobility products while simultaneously lowering your personal risk of being the victim of a battery fire. Before we get going with this video, I want to introduce you to something that we're going to be throwing into some videos from now on as a bit of a trial. QR codes. When we have something important to link back to, we'll throw one onto the screen right about here, and you'll be able to point a smartphone camera at it in order to follow the link. Let's try it out now. Point your smartphone camera here, and you should see an embedded link that you can follow. At least, you should if your phone is reasonably new. And if you tried it with this link, you'll see it goes to our Patreon page, just in case you'd like to support us. I'll just wait a few moments for you to try that out. But whenever you do see this, you know it's time to grab your phone and start link diving. The first one is coming in just a few moments, so get ready. For now, they won't appear in every video we make, but if you like them, we'll try and include them in more videos as time goes on. I know that Kate's going to be using them in an upcoming video she's working on about EVs and the mining industry, so it's going to be fun. Okay, on with today's video. And before we get delving beyond the headlines, let's just remind ourselves of the market we're discussing. The market for micromobility is huge and growing at an astonishing rate with no signs that it will slow down anytime soon. That, as I explained in another video on this channel recently, is partly because electric cars are out of the price range for many people, and thus, for those looking to dump the pump and choosing a more environmentally form of transportation that doesn't require dedicated parking, micromobility fits the bill perfectly. E-bikes, electric scooters, and electric unicycles are also incredibly good fun to ride. They're quiet, can help you up most hills without you breaking into a sweat, and electric bicycles specifically can actually improve your health. A study in 2018, QR code right here, found that e-bikes can improve cardiorespiratory fitness in physically inactive individuals. A more recent study in 2021, again, another QR code coming right about now, and don't worry, we'll link to these in the show notes as well, found that while electric bicycle use resulted in a lower heart rate in riders than those observed by riders using a traditional non-electrified bicycle, they also resulted in a 20% reduction in overall calorific expenditure, but plenty of anecdotal evidence suggests that people are more likely to want to commute on a bicycle if it has an electric motor, and more people who are not physically fit are likely to become healthier by riding an e-bike. Because electric bicycles are so much cheaper than electric cars, the market for e-bicycles is massive, and according to one prediction from Fortune Business Insights, it's going to get a lot bigger. The global electric bicycle market is predicted to grow in value from the $35.69 billion value it had in 2021 to $92.19 billion in 2028. And that's before you even acknowledge that in recent years, more electric bicycles have been sold than plug-in hybrids and electric cars combined. Which brings us to the difficult matter of battery fires in e-bicycles and other micromobility devices. First, something that might shock you. That headline from Fox, while certainly a little over the top, isn't technically incorrect. There have been cases of electric bicycle battery packs malfunctioning and bursting into flames, leading to building fires that have killed people. Although, that said, I'd also argue that using the term exploding is a bit of a pejorative spin that we could probably do without. The article and numerous other pieces of reporting on the same topic all report the same thing. With the rise in popularity of electric bicycles, we're seeing more cases of building fires caused by lithium-ion battery packs from electric bicycles and micromobility products malfunctioning and bursting into flames. Because lithium-ion battery fires can take hold extremely quickly and burn very intensely, often beginning with a loud bang or an explosion, almost instantaneously ignite, they can all too often spread to other nearby objects and cause a much bigger fire. For those without the proper tools and training, they can be difficult to extinguish, and using the wrong type of firefighting methods can make the fire worse, not better. Oh, and lithium-ion batteries, like most type of batteries, also emit some really nasty noxious fumes when they burn. And in some cases, those fires result in building damage and death. Last year, in New York City, electric bicycles were the fourth most common cause of fire-related deaths, which is why it is considering new proposals that range all the way from banning all electric bicycles and e-mobility within the city to requiring people to charge them outside. Those are rules which could kill e-bike and micromobility use, all the way through to rules that will ban electric micromobility devices and battery packs for them from being sold in New York City if they have not undergone underwriters' laboratory testing. That's a more sensible solution than the other two, and I will come to them in a bit. Why is it a particular problem, though, in New York City? Well, that's easy. NYC has the lowest car ownership per capita of any US metro area, and it also has some of the most densely populated residential areas in the country. That latter fact means many people don't own a car and take public transit or bike. And for cycle couriers and gig economy workers doing delivery services, electric bicycles are the perfect fit. They're small enough to help you get through traffic, they're small enough to store in most apartments, and you can charge up the battery while you sleep. Which, sadly, also means that any issues with those batteries while charging are most likely to happen when the owner is asleep, reducing the likelihood that said owner will be alerted to the problem until it's too late. While some professional couriers regularly spend a huge chunk of money on a good steed, it is part of their job, those working part-time gig economy jobs are less likely to buy the most expensive, most capable, best-built electric bicycles out there, because they are most likely to lack the disposable income needed to make that purchase. Instead, they often have no choice but to pick models that are cheaper with subpar batteries and components. And of course, while there are laws mandating proper protections for tenants in the form of fire alarms and fire prevention methods, older buildings are harder to outfit, and not every landlord follows the law. Add in the fact that most people doing gig economy and bicycle courier jobs are most likely to be renting from the shittier landlords in the shittier parts of New York City, and it's the perfect storm. Now we understand why this is a more common problem in New York City. Let's examine why these fires are actually happening in the first place. Lithium-ion battery packs are fantastic. They are one of the most energy-dense forms of electrochemical energy storage available, and they allow you to store a huge amount of energy in a small space. However, they are also susceptible to something called thermal runaway. I'm not going to go into it in detail in this video, but simply put, if a lithium-ion battery cell is charged beyond a set voltage, it becomes very unhappy. Think of it like this. It's a little like overeating at Thanksgiving. You feel bloated, unhappy, and you probably don't feel better until you've made a visit to the bathroom. In the case of a battery cell, instead of going to the bathroom, it tries to get rid of that overfull feeling by using the excess energy it can't safely store and turning that into thermal energy. That thermal energy, aka heat, causes a runaway chemical reaction in the battery that ultimately leads to the cell exploding, going pop, and causing a fire. To prevent this, reputable battery cell manufacturers carefully rate each and every cell they make to ensure that the cell's official capacity is noted. Cells with similar energy storage capacities are matched together and put in the same battery pack, and an especially designed circuit is built either within the battery pack or connected to it that ensures as soon as any cell within the pack reaches a maximum safe voltage, no further power is fed into the cell or the battery. The same battery management system also monitors the battery cell voltages as that battery is discharged and makes sure that no power is drained from the battery once the weakest cell reaches a certain low-end discharge voltage. And yes, I know technically that's not actually what happens. Some folks will want me to talk about top and bottom balancing and how charge curves aren't actually like a switch that's either on or off, but more a gradual change in charge current. But for the purpose of this video, all you need to know is that there's a microcontroller designed to ensure that the battery doesn't get to a position where thermal runaway is a possibility. Except, and this is a big except, not all battery packs have decent battery management built into them, because that's costly. You have to pay someone to test the cells in a laboratory, time and time again, to make sure that the cell's official specs are actually correct. Then you have to design a battery management circuit with a microcontroller, or at the very least, pay an engineer to fit the reference design to your project. And then you have to design and build that system and write code for it. And then you have to install a bunch of extra components that, as a company, you'd rather not pay for. I mean, why pay engineers and testing staff to build and test your product when you can get paying customers to beta test things for you? And while well-respected electric bicycle companies with well-respected engineering teams that are being paid proper living salaries to do the jobs they went to university to train for are actually putting all of that in, some companies just want to get rich quick, to capitalize on the latest craze and undercut whoever else is building and selling the thing that you want to make money on. I mean, if the concept of manufacturer's warranty isn't in your lexicon, you're happy to rebrand every few months after you've shipped a big batch of your substandard product somewhere, or you happen to live and work somewhere where legal repercussions for not following engineering know-how are slim to non-existent. Why bother? In the electric car world, we have scads of safety standards that electric automakers must satisfy before a car is allowed to be sold, registered and driven on the public roads. It varies from country to country, but unless those standards are met and the certifications obtained, the company making the car can't make money because it can't sell anything. What's more, as the recent Chevrolet Bolt EV battery recall program and others have taught us, when a car company gets permission to sell a vehicle and then it turns out things weren't quite right, there are big repercussions, i.e. fines, when that vehicle develops faults. There are, though, however, no standards present in the US for electric bicycle battery packs, and while some markets do have certification programs in place, the industry is only as good as its weakest link. Furthermore, in a world where you can still legally buy radioactive negative ion doodads on Amazon, yeah, follow here for a video that you probably want to watch. And the lovely Big Clive from BigClive.com ends up doing a teardown on some shoddy electronics gadget you can buy online for a few quid every week. It's surprisingly easy to get poor quality stuff. Poor quality stuff which breaks or fails in the most spectacular way. Which leads me to the final bit of this video. How can you make sure that you're not a victim of e-bike, e-scooter and EUC fires? First, make sure that your micromobility product comes from a reputable source. Ask before buying if the product has Underwriters Laboratories, that's UL, or Conformité Européenne, CE, certification. There aren't a guarantee with either of these that whatever e-mobility device you're buying has a well-built battery pack with a decent battery management system, but both of these certifications should ensure that the vehicle's battery pack isn't suddenly going to fail in a spectacular way that will threaten your life or your home. On screen right now, you'll see the QR code for the UL website detailing the safety evaluations that exist for e-mobility devices in the US, and the site is also a good place to start for global purchases if you want to make sure your new purchase meets those and similar standards, although they're not legally binding right now. I should also note here, however, that UL listing is not a magic determination if something's good and or safe. But it is a good starting point. Second, even if what you are looking at buying doesn't have UL listing or CE conformity, make sure that it has a functional battery management system and that the cells inside the battery pack are high quality. If the vendor can't tell you or won't tell you the answer to either of those questions, just walk away. Third, just like you need to look after electric car battery packs for a long and healthy life, make sure you look after your e-mobility battery packs. Keep them at the same kind of temperature that is comfortable for us humans, not too hot and not too cold. Don't let them sit completely empty for long periods of time, and conversely, don't charge them to full and then let them sit for days without use. If your battery has just been given a workout, plug it in and let it charge for a while. If you're not going to use it immediately, then unplug it before it reaches completely full and let it sit at about 80%. Then plug it in to top it off just before you ride. And if you're someone who rides until the battery dies, consider buying a second battery pack or planning a recharging during your regular day. Continued draining to completely empty where the bike will shut off will hasten your battery pack's demise and increase the risk of something really bad happening. Finally, and I know this is common sense, don't place your battery near other things that could potentially overheat or catch fire. I am of course talking about basic levels of home electrical safety here, but well, it is worth stating for those of you who are actually playing TikTok videos on your mobile phones at the back of class, rather than paying attention. And on that note, we're done with today's video. Stick around until after the credits if you want to know more about the classic iMac behind me. If you liked today's video, you know what to do, and feel free to let us know your thoughts in our Discord chat room, reaching out to us on Mastodon, or if you're a Patreon supporter, leaving a comment on our Patreon page. If you want more, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow the links to regularly support us with a YouTube membership or a Patreon subscription. There are also links below to our Ko-fi, Bitcoin, and Swag store, as well as that aforementioned Mastodon server. Scrolling on my right is a list of amazing charged up supporters, and shoutouts go out to our self-driving tier supporters: Mike Weeder, Denny Hyde, Linda Irish, Lance Charles, Mark Eggleton, Cyprian Laplace, John Trammell, Alan Tupper, Chris Maxwell, Brian Newton, Bennett Elder, Andrew Martin, Sean Tucker, Pedro Mora Pinheiro, Kyle Hodgson, Tony Moss, Brophy Wolf, Kyle Fox, Hey Esker, Taslet in the Gong, Dan Blair, Peter Dillinger, Gordon C., Stefan Fremgen, Stephen Williams, Regine Fellows, Chris Asentar, and Jim Benes. And finally, out of this world thanks to our top tier supporters: John L., Henderson, Clay Witt, CPU Freak 101, John Lyons, Kevin Boroughbridge, Andrew Glenn, Joe Hughes, Dave Kitchen, Joe Bresney, Nigel S., Matthew Drobnek, Eric Knack, Paul Conway, Stephen O'Donoghue, JP Fagerback, Reggie Watts, Marcel Ward, Robert Flannery, Aaron Hahn, Rory Litwin, Ellery Hensley, Will Graylin, and Ian. Don't forget that we make videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday on Main, plus our Sundays, Take Two and Chicken and Garden Update. And with that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you soon, and as always, keep evolving. Thanks for staying around for the classic Mac details. Behind me is one of the very first machines you would have seen on this set. It is, of course, the iconic lampshade G4 iMac. This is the smaller screened version. It's not the widescreen variant, it's the smallest version that was made at the time. It's got a 1 GHz processor. It is running Sorbet Leopard, which is a special brew designed specifically for these retro Macs that allows you to use modern security updates and things on your vintage Macs. It was the first, I think actually it was the first Mac we used in this studio. It used to be on the old studio wall before we actually turned machines on. It comes from the lovely Anonymous Freak, as do a couple of our other machines, so thank you to them for that. And it needs a new hard drive. Also, it's not broken. We just removed it from the set to show you some of the other computers in the collection, but today it's back and it's functional, so enjoy.